This is going to be really weird, but I feel like I'm supposed to read this letter that's in my Bible. And maybe it's for one of you. It's my daughter. Gosh, I hope she's not watching. I didn't ask her anything. She just wrote me this letter. I'm like, gosh, I don't really have notes, but I have this note. My daughter wrote this note. She's heading off for college in a few weeks. And this is my third daughter. And I have 7 kids. And my oldest is 21 or 22. I don't know. I think she's 22 probably. And she's married. She's pregnant. So I'm going to be a grandpa. And she's my oldest. My youngest is actually 2. So he's an uncle. It's just weird. So I've got everything. Going to be a grandpa. But this is from my daughter who's going off to college. Daddy, the closer I get to moving away, the more I realize how much I'm going to miss you. I'll miss everyone, of course, but when I think about leaving, almost always the first thing I think about is how much I'll miss you. You're my twin, my playmate, my gym partner, my eating partner, my role model. You understand me better than anyone else in the world, and I trust you more than anyone else in the world. We have gone on so many adventures together, and most of my best memories are with you. Thank you for teaching me how to trust God and always pushing me to develop my own relationship with Him. Thank you for encouraging me to use my gifts for Him and being an example of how to come before Him in humility and reverence. Thank you for doing stupid things and making up weird songs and games that even make the most boring situations fun. Thank you for laying on the floor of my room while I studied and singing all the picture frames. Thank you for always making time to hang out with me from when I was little all the way up to now, whether it was going to the driving range, playing catch, basketball, going to the gym, playing Settlers of Catan, or eating. Thanks for being my best friend, Daddy. Happy Father's Day. You know, I remember my first daughter when she moved out, you just feel like, I was bawling my eyes out at the airport, as she was moving to Nashville. And we were crying so hard that the United Airlines worker came over. There's no joke. And they asked, is everything okay here? And we're sobbing because it's like my family, it's over, and I'm like, my daughter's just going away to school. And So then he dragged me out of the airport. No, he just says, well, I've never seen love like this. And I guess I don't know why the Lord had me share that. Maybe because, it is the end of something that's about to happen in a few weeks. It's 18 years of this relationship. And there's a lot of times we don't think about what it's going to be like at the end of something. Like you're just in it, but you don't, your best decisions are made in hindsight. When you can move forward and go, what do I want it to feel like when my daughter leaves the house? What do I want her to know? What do I want her to be like? And so let me make decisions that lead up to this moment in a couple of weeks. Let me decide now what type of man I'm going to be. I remember when my first daughter was born, and I had so much anger. I remember one time just picking her up and screaming at her at age 2 and just putting her back in I literally screamed, "Shut up!" I just wasn't used to all this crying in the house, right? And immediately, walking out of a room going, did I just do that? This was all the anger I remember from my dad. And just getting on my knees and going, God, I can't be this. I will not be this man. There's no way. And just saying, God, change me. And then telling my wife what happened, going, honey, I just lost it. I just absolutely lost it. Going back to a little 2-year-old, apologizing to my wife, something I never saw my dad do, but then it's getting on my knees and say, God, I don't ever want that to happen again. This can't happen. This can't happen. I don't want her to remember me this way. I know she's only 2, but you know what? She'll be 18. And so what am I going to do now? What am I going to regret in hindsight? I remember putting her to bed, during halftime of Laker games, it's like, okay, and rushing back. And I thought, I don't want her to remember her dad like that. I don't want to let's get rid of cable. I haven't had it since, in 20 years. It's just, I think about the end. And what it's going to be like and what that relationship's going to be like. What did I teach her? And in the same way, I think that's why my life has been driven the way it is. I think about the end, the very end. And I'm going to stand before God. And I can't just think, I'll have, it's not like, high school where you can just cram in the last few minutes, and let me just do a bunch of good stuff because I'm dying. I have cancer, It doesn't work like that. It's a decision now of how am I going to live my life so that when I stand before him, that I might hear the words from God going, Francis, well done. Well done, my good and faithful servant. That's all I want. It's just like this letter. Maybe that's why I read, because I think, this is all I want. What more can I want from my daughter? I got it. This is the well done. From 18 years. Well done, Dad. I love you. I'm crazy. You're my best friend. You kidding me? And then the thought of, okay, what about when this is over? Any second, and we stand before him. Man, that moment, if I could hear him say, well done, Francis. Well done. You did it. You did it. Is there anything on earth you want more than that? Seriously. One of my friends texted me this, just a random text. I hadn't heard from him in like a year. And I just get a weird text that says, if you live to be 80, your heart will beat 3 billion times. That was it. Cool. But I've been thinking 3 billion times this thing's got to beat. How many things work 3 billion times? What are the odds of anything working 3 billion times? And to think that there's someone right now that determines whether I get another one, or another one, or another one, or another one, or another one. I've had friends that literally died while they were teaching. While they were preaching. I mean, they didn't make it off the stage. These things enter my mind. And I go, God, what am I going to get at the end? When this is over, where do we go from there? And what am I going to hear coming from his voice? So I try to make decisions in day-to-day life preparing for that day. That's just, to me, that's what life is really about. Maybe for those who don't know, it's my mom died giving birth to me. And then right there in Chinatown in San Francisco, the Chinese hospital where Bruce Lee was born. Yeah, that's what he always said when that's where Francis was born. But she died, hemorrhage died, and then my dad remarried, and then my stepmother went off the bridge in Antioch and died, like car accident. And then my dad got married again. Then my dad died of cancer when I was 12. And so by the time I'm in middle school, man, there's something terrifying as a kid when you watch your parents buried. I don't care how much faith you have or whatever, you go to bed at night with these images of seeing their body put down in the grave, and you're just like, what in the world? What just happened? So it just ends. Then what? Then what? That's why, like, when I was in middle school, I'm like, I got to find this out. I am concerned about the end. Like, I remember asking my brother, I go, does everything just end? And my brother, older brothers, they just make stuff up. And he did. He's just like, oh, yeah, of course, everything ends. And I was like, oh, really? Like, and so then that, like, started terrifying me, thinking, like, how do I just end? Like, I don't get it. So do I just stop thinking? Is there just no longer a Francis? Is it just over? Like, there's some point in which we just stop existing. Like, it never sat well with me. Like, I just couldn't get it. And it wasn't until later in life that I read in Ecclesiastes where Solomon says that God has placed eternity inside of man's heart, but he doesn't know what to do with it. It's like God placed this understanding that this isn't it. It's not just flesh and blood. It's not just this heart beating, but there's something beyond that. And I never got that until later. I felt it. Then I read the scriptures. I go, okay, that's crazy. I'm just going to speak for a few minutes and then just let you guys ask questions. I'm thinking about what Paul said in 1 Corinthians 2. Like, he just said, I'm going to know nothing except Christ and him crucified. And in fact, we had this lady that was talking to us last week. She runs this ministry in Africa, and just with children. And they are currently discipling over 250,000 children in Africa, like weekly discipleship. And these kids, I mean, like ages 5 to like 12, they're going into villages. They're learning things, just real basic, simple truths about God and the Holy Spirit. And then she says they have zero knowledge. They'll just hear the Holy Spirit can heal, and they'll start walking into villages, and they'll start healing people. Like people don't even believe in God. People that are against Jesus. Like these kids, they just started sharing with people. And now this ministry's grown to over 250,000 of these children. Like villages. She's talking about one village where she would go, and she says about 7 years ago there was a giant kiln in the middle of the village. And this is where parents would take their 12-year-old children and throw them in this kiln to be killed by this fire. That was the norm. This is insane, right? And these kids start going in this village, start healing people. Okay, I've never experienced any of this. But these kids start healing people, and it starts changing. People start falling in love with Jesus. And then parents are going, I am not going to sacrifice my kid. It took 5 years, but they finally destroyed the kiln in that village. And it's become like this Christian village. And she's just talking to us about kids. And I never took some of these passages seriously in the Bible that talk about children. I always thought, oh, that's cute. Jesus like kids, right? I mean, I was just like, someone take care of the kids in the other room so I can do some serious spiritual stuff with the adults, right? Man, there used to be a sign, at my old church that just said, right as you come in, no one under 5 is allowed in here. I mean, I'm just kind of looking at me like I'm a jerk. I was, because I just thought, what in the world? But then she was even showing us verses like in Psalm 8, where it was talking about the praises of the infants. Like, praise of an infant? That doesn't even make sense to me. Like, how can that even happen? But then Jesus kind of solidifies that when he says, look, When he was praying, he goes, Father, I thank you that you hid these things from the wise and the learned, and you revealed them to children. And here's the passages that really got to me. Matthew 18, he says about the children, what does he say? I just knew it was there. Oh, yeah. Listen to this. At the time, disciples came to Jesus saying, who is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven? And calling to him a child, he put him in the midst of them and said, truly, I say to you, unless you turn, listen closely, these are the words of Jesus. Unless you turn and become like children, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven. Whoever humbles himself like this child is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven. Okay, those are some serious words right there. If I don't become like a child, I won't enter the kingdom of heaven. And it's those who humble themselves that will be the greatest in the kingdom of heaven. Then he goes on, he says, if anyone causes one of these little ones to stumble, like leads them towards sin, he goes, it'd be better for him to tie a millstone around his neck and then jump into the ocean. That's pretty harsh. Then he continues and he says, hey, make sure you don't despise one of these little ones. For I tell you that in heaven, their angels always see the face of my Father who is in heaven. He goes, you better not despise these little ones because they have angels. And I don't understand that. I don't know if there's an age where we don't have an angel. I hope that's not one of the Q&A questions. I don't know. But I know that the heart in which Jesus said that was like, hey, you better treat these children the right way because they have angels, and their angels are right there in the presence of God right now, staring at him. And then, then he goes on and he tells that parable. Some of you have probably heard of it. He goes, hey, if you've got 100 sheep and one wanders off, won't you go after that one and leave the 99? And then at the end of it, he says, in the same way, it's not the Father's desire that any of these little ones should perish. I thought, I didn't know that was about kids. I never equated that. Like God's heart for that. But I think the reason why that passage is coming to mind here is humility. Unless we humble ourselves and become like children. And that's why I guess I came here today going, God, okay, I don't want to come with arrogance. I want to come like a child. And is that what Paul was doing? Just saying, I'm not going to come as this awesome orator. I'm just going to tell you guys, look, there's a God up there. There's someone who determines whether or not we walk out of this room. Does that do anything to you? Does that humble you at all? I was walking with a friend this morning, and we were just praying as we were walking, and I'm going, God, this is insane. Like, we are just two, like, little blobs of flesh, Like, that's all we are. Think about this. You're probably looking down on this earth that you made, and here's these two little skin balls, just going. I mean, that's all it is. And any second, this organ or this organ or this organ or this organ, like, who do I think I am to ever think anything more of me? God, it's all up to you. You made me and you determine everything. I'm so sorry for the things I've made of myself. Man, I don't ever want to lift myself up, God. Help me, help me, help me. I want to be like that kid. I want to humble myself like a child. And for some of you, man, I mean, there's a status working here. you're cooler than your friends. There's something there, okay? You felt it. It's just something about being a part of that makes it harder on you. It's like you're at a disadvantage. That's why when that rich man, Jesus is walking with that rich young ruler, and Jesus says, just sell everything, give it to the poor. And the guy goes away sad, and Jesus goes, oh, it is so hard for the rich to enter the kingdom of heaven. It was like Jesus just feeling sorry for the guy, like, oh, it's so hard when you have so much, because then you just feel like you don't want to give that up. It puts you at this serious spiritual disadvantage. Man, I remember one time I was about to speak at the NBA All-Star game. This is back in L.A. at the Staples Center, and I was a big sports guy, This is my first, pro athlete thing that I did, and I was like, God, I don't want to show up and start asking for autographs. That does them no good. I go, I can't respect men. I shouldn't. According to Scripture, I don't want to look up to anyone but you. And so would you just fix my heart right now before I go and speak to these guys? And as I was just in my room on my knees praying that God would give me the right attitude, I just started weeping. I'm not a big crier, but I just started crying as I put myself in their shoes, because I thought, oh, that would be horrible. What if you grew up and everyone looked up to you and worshiped you? And then you make it, and you're just making a fortune. Everything's just rolling. And what if your life ends at that point? What the Bible says, you forfeit your soul, but you gain the world. Like a lot of us that do believe in God, didn't it happen when things were pretty crazy? And so often it's like at the bottom is where we find him. And I just started getting sad and concerned. And I remember telling these athletes, gosh, I just feel sorry for you guys. And they're like, no one has ever said that. And I go, but think about it. What if everything goes your way your whole life? And you never, it's got to be so hard for you when everyone worships you and wants your time for you to humble yourself and go, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm in the presence of God. To get on your knees right now and go, are you kidding me? I'm speaking to him. No, that's what everyone does to you. They start shaking oh my gosh, you're really him. You're really him. You get that your whole life, you're going to miss it. And I guess that's my concern for us here. I mean, we're doing pretty well for ourselves. But Jesus says, unless we become like children, and that issue of humility. And again, there's an amazing God up there who has every right to judge us. Because of this passage on the kids, I was so convicted about it. At our next church gathering, I had my 11-year-old and 10-year-old. I'm like, come in here. You got power. The kids in Africa, look what they're doing. What are you doing? Chinese shame, What's wrong with you, They say village, and I just said, hey, do you guys have anything to share? And my daughter, Ellie, I didn't know she had it in her. She's like, yeah. And she starts telling the story. She goes, I remember Dad telling the story about when he was going way over the speed limit, and he got pulled over, and she goes, that he had nothing to say to the policeman. He was going way, way too fast. He had no answer, and now it was in the hands of the policeman to say whatever and fine him however much money. And she goes, I just started thinking about, she starts crying, my own sin. And I'm going to stand before the judge one day. And she's crying. Now, keep in mind, this is the most pure child I've ever had. Okay? I tell you, she is my favorite, okay? She is. Every time I see her, I smile. I mean, she's my favorite. Like, she's just always giving, caring, whatever. She just went on a field trip with her little sixth grade friends, and she brings extra sunscreen in case someone might get burned. She brings extra snacks just in case a kid forgot. Like, who does that? And now she's crying, going, I'm going to stand before God. And I get it that he's this judge. He can do anything. And to think that instead of punishing me, he sent his son to die for me. He decided to show grace and have someone else pay for my... And by now, there's not a dry eye in the room. And I'm going, oh, Jesus, that's exactly what you said. And out of this child came like the most beautiful message. And Jesus says, look, I'm going to hide it from the arrogant. He goes, in fact, I oppose the proud, and I give grace to the humble. God is so anti-pride. When I think, I asked people at our gathering a few weeks ago, I go, hey, what sin do you hate the most? And people start naming things, like human trafficking. Amen. That is disgusting. To take these children and do what people do, like you just want to tear someone apart. I get it. They'd name different things, and then I said, well, what do you think God hates the most? Based upon your understanding of the Bible. Several of them said, pride. I go, yeah, I think so. Like there's nothing, he says the proud man is an abomination in his sight. And those are some serious words. And I'm just going, God, how can I become like a child again? See, that's where, some of you guys know my story. I kind of freaked out a few years ago where I wrote this book and I didn't know I could write. Like, I seriously didn't. I had no clue. I mean, I was never good in English. SAT, math, I missed nothing. I mean, I don't want to be stereotypical, but some of it just comes natural. Like, it's weird. It just, you do. But English was like, and I write this book, right? And I just felt like God wanted me to write down my thoughts of things I was learning about him. But then suddenly publishers wanted it. Next thing I know, it's New York Times bestseller. And I remembered a prayer I told God one time. I go, God, I'm so frustrated with the rich people in church. Like, I feel like they give 5-10% and they still live off millions. And I said, God, would you just raise up a new generation of rich people that actually live for eternity and live like humans, like normal people, and just give it all away because they believe in eternity. And at the end of the prayer, I go, God, or make me rich. I seriously said this. I said, or make me rich. I'll give it all away. I'll give it all away to show that you're better than all of that. And so the next year, I make $1 million. I'm like, oh my gosh. And I told my wife the prayer. I go, look, honey, we're not taking a dime of this. I don't want a dime of this. This was my prayer. Let's just give it away. Let's just give it, let's just start building hospitals, schools, whatever. And so over the years, making all this money, going, God, I don't want any of it. I signed it over to a charitable gift fund so that I can't even touch it. Like, I can't even buy lunch with the money. It's not in my hands. I can only give to charity. And it's been the best thing. I mean, now I spend my days going and looking where are the needs around the world. And how can I contribute to it? And how can I get my friends to contribute to it? Why was I saying that? Just to let you know I'm rich. No. This is what I was. No, here's what it was. Here's what it was. Okay, I freaked out during that time in my life because that's right when social media, you guys, started rising, and I just didn't know what to do with it. When people flatter you or when people curse you. And there was a period, people are used to it now, and now you realize those, blazing statements in either direction is just some guy at Walmart going, oh, watch this, I'll make him mad. And you go, okay. But back then I just really didn't know. It's like, why are they saying this about me? And then suddenly, wow, I like what they're saying about me, and the pride. I remember getting at a conference and seeing my face like on a magazine, like just my face, like the whole thing. And hearing whispers and this and this and this and walking in the room and actually liking it. And I was getting ready to speak, and the Lord just convicted me during the worship time. I'm on the ground, and not teary-eyed. I'm talking like snot, where you're just out of control, like going, what did I just become? Everything I didn't want to be, everything you said you hated. That's me right now. And as I'm having this moment with God, suddenly the guy goes, and now let's welcome Francis. And I'm thinking, I seriously walked up like this. And I just started crying and just going, God, I got to confess, man, I'm becoming who I didn't want to be. I got to get out of here. I'm losing my soul. I miss the old Francis that wasn't worried about what everyone thought, that had to put up some sort of image. I miss that stupid kid who fell in love with Jesus in high school and starts calling everyone in the yearbook that he knew to tell him about Jesus because he was so concerned about their eternal destiny. I miss the old Francis who just asked his pastor, hey, can you pick me up in the bus this week? And I brought 50 friends to church one Wednesday night. 50! Just tell them, you guys, come on, trust me, this is important stuff. Like, where'd that guy go? And I'm just telling you, while we grow up, there's a wisdom we gain. You right? But just be careful, because there's something you can lose too. There's a humility and a simplicity. And I don't want to lose that. And Jesus says, unless we become like those children. So as a kid, I just want to tell you, I do believe there's a God. And I do believe he has every right, like my daughter said. He's the judge to punish us as severely as he sees fit. He decides what's fair, not me. And I do believe that God is also a God of mercy and love, which blows my mind to think that he wanted to show one act of love that would just surpass everything that's ever happened on this earth. He goes, watch this. I'll take my one and only son. And as a father, I get that. And I'm going to watch him suffer to pay for your crimes. He says he took him who knew no sin to become sin on our behalf, that we might become the righteousness of God through him. That fascinates me. And he says any of us can be forgiven and know him. And that you have to come to a point in your life when you hear that story and go, are you kidding me? He died for me? But that's not it. He rose from the dead 3 days later to show that, look, I meant what I said. I am who I say I am. And he says, look, you can be forgiven of everything if you believe that actually happened. And not only that, but he'll put his spirit in you so that you can even understand these spiritual things and get him and know him and take on the mind of Christ. That's it. It's a simple story.